Hello. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name's Justin, Business Development Manager here at Fullerton Markets, bringing to you a special class on trend lines and why they are such profitable yet basic trading strategies. All right. So before we begin, can everyone raise your hands if you can hear me? Or perhaps type in the chat? Okay, thank you. All right. So, everybody, today we are going to talk about trend lines. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard about trend lines before, and some of you may have tried using them previously in your trading. However, you might not really understand or how to interpret trend lines, and they may or may not have helped you in your trading. But after this class, I'm sure you will be able to use trend lines well, and they should help you with your trading. So without further ado, let us begin. All right, so what is a trend line? Basically, a trend line is a tool to help you trade a trend, right? Because when we're trading Forex, right, we talk about the trend, we talk about where the market is going, but we don't really take a step back to actually see the trend. All right, a lot of the times people are very focused when they're doing trading, right? They like to zoom in, all right, without taking the time to zoom out and to identify the trend. All right, now one of the best ways to identify the trend is by drawing a trend line. Okay, so let me show you the first application, all right, of drawing trend lines. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a trend line, all right? As you can see, we are looking at the gold chart, and the trend line here is this color red diagonal line that is ascending upwards, all right? This is known as a downtrend. Why? Because for this trend line, we have aligned it with low points on the chart candlesticks, all right? As you can see, prices are going up, they are dipping down, going up, dipping down. And all we did was we connected the low points to identify that this is indeed an uptrend, okay? So this trend line basically acts as your support, right? If you remember from another class on support and resistances, when you have a support, this acts like it's stopping prices from going down, basically. The same thing can be said for a trend line. Now, whereas the normal support and resistance are horizontal lines, the uptrend, the trend lines are a bit more diagonal, okay? So this is one way to identify an uptrend. We just have to string along all the low points in the chart, okay? So we want to identify first which are the support levels. As you can see, I have placed arrows on the points that we need to string along, all right? The first two arrows, you can obviously see that there are candles, and the second arrow even has a wick, all right? But prices did not fall any lower than this, and they continued to move upward to test it again on the third, and on the fourth, and on the fifth, and on the sixth, all right? So these are the support levels. These are the low points that we have identified, and they make up a support level of which we can now base our future trades, all right? Later, I'll show you guys how we can actually use the support levels on the trend lines to decide whether or not we are going to take a long or a short, okay? Now, this is a downtrend, all right? We have identified the downtrend, and we can see here that prices are going lower, climbing higher, going even lower than previous, climbing higher again, and then going lower once again. So we have strung along all of the high points, all right? We have strung along all of the high points to show that prices are indeed moving in a downward manner, okay? So in the downtrend, refer to the high points to draw a downtrend line, and this will now act as our resistance, okay? This will now act as our resistance when we trade. just like the earlier support and resistance, this is just a bit more diagonal, okay? All right, so the resistance levels, this is the resistance level, and these are the resistance points that we have strung along, the high points rather, all right? So how do we actually trade these points, all right? But first, let me show you how to quickly draw the trend lines. If you've ever used the MT4 before, there are a few ways to do this, all right? The first way is by clicking the insert button, going to lines and selecting trend line, all right? Later on, I will do this for you guys personally so you know how it actually looks, all right? So the first way is by going to your MT4, selecting insert lines and then trend line, all right? The other way is by to simply select the draw trend line button that comes standard on your MT4, all right? I told you guys, this is a very basic trading strategy. So basic, in fact, that it is one of the default things that you can access on the MT4, all right? So there are two ways to do this. First, going through insert lines and then draw trend line, or you can immediately find the trend line here, all right? Just in case you can't find the trend line, you can also add it in at a later point in time, all right? So let's move on. All right, so here are some tips on how you can trade using the trend lines. The first is through the bounce, all right? What do we mean by bounce? Imagine you have a ball in your hand, okay? If you throw the ball onto the floor, it's gonna meet the floor, right? Then it's gonna bounce up. So this is what we mean by trading the bounce, all right? In an uptrend, all right, prices are continuously climbing higher. We have strung along the low points to create a uptrend line, all right? When we want to trade the bounce, friends, when we want to trade the bounce, it's very simple. The moment the prices approach or touch the trend line, we want to enter a buy trade because we are expecting prices to go up because this is an uptrend, okay? We have identified an uptrend, and now we are looking for buy signals. This is an excellent way for you guys to enter a trade, all right? So as you can see here, you'll notice that the first few points were not included in the buy call. Why? Because we needed those points to identify the trend line, all right? But later on, after having identified the line, all right, identified the uptrend, we can then use this as reference as to when we should actually be entering our buys. As you can see here, we have 4 buy trades, all right? Now, the next question is, how should you set up your stop loss? Well, since we are expecting prices to bounce off of the trend line, we want to set our stop loss just below this, okay? Just below this. Now, the take profit, there are other ways there are a few other ways, right? To actually identify this, perhaps you might want to draw another trend line above, all right? Or if you guys have a specific target, or if you guys have other take profit points, you can use those as well. But as a very good rule for stop losses, put it just below the trend line, okay? Because the moment it breaks below the trend line, well, it has broken through and there is another trade for that, all right? So in an uptrend, we trade a buy the moment it bounces off of the trend line, all right? Now let me show you what it looks like on a downtrend. When prices are doing a downtrend, we want to enter sell every time they approach the resistance line or the resistance line. That was the trend line that we drew earlier. So as you can see here on the first sell, prices went down, went upwards, it tested the resistance, it fell down again, and this happens a few more times, okay? Now, I want you to take a look at the last sell trade and actually look to the right of this, all right? You can see that prices actually broke through. All right. Now, if you entered a sell here and let's say your trade is still open, your stop loss would have been hit because we placed the stop loss above the trend line. Okay. Above the trend line. But if you're wondering, is there any way that we can make use of the break? you guys are in luck because that is what I will be showing you next. All right. Opposite to the bounce way of trading, we have what is known as the break. All right. Basically, what we do is we wait for prices to break the trend line. As you can see here, all right, trade the break in a downtrend. All right, in a downtrend, we buy when the price breaks the trend line. Okay. Earlier, we were looking for shorts. Earlier, we were looking for sells. All right. However, this is very important, guys. Listen to this. We identified this as a downtrend, meaning over a period of time, we are expecting prices to fall lower and lower and lower, correct? That's why it's a downtrend. However, when you're trading Forex, you might have noticed that trends can change, right? Trends may not always last for a long time, all right? This is an example. Previously, we were in a downtrend, right? So we were only looking to short. However, the moment that the candlesticks and the prices have broken above the trend line, we can say that this trend perhaps has broken and we might be entering into another trend, which could possibly be a uptrend, all right? That is why from a previous downtrend, the moment prices break above the trend line, the resistance, we want to enter a buy because this could have potentially signaled a change in the trend and prices might continue to move higher. Clear so far? All right. In a downtrend, when prices break the resistance trend line, we want to enter a buy because this may signal a change in the trend. Clear? All right, let me show you the next part. After an uptrend, okay, the opposite of an uptrend is a downtrend. All right. When prices break the support of an uptrend, this could signal the change in trends. All right. Instead of being an uptrend, we could potentially be entering into a downtrend. That is why the moment prices break below the support trend line, we want to enter a short position because previously prices were moving upward. Now they might be moving downward. Okay. Now, if you guys are thinking, okay, which of the two should I be trading? Should I be trading the bounce or the break? Ladies and gentlemen, you can trade both, all right? You can trade both. Prices tend to, if you draw the trend line, you might notice that prices have tried breaking it a few times before actually breaking through, okay? This could be perhaps an indicator for you, all right? If you study and then you have realized that on average, the trend line will be tested maybe 3 or 4 times before being broken through completely, well, you guys might want to use this as a rule of thumb. If, for example, the trend line has only been tested twice or perhaps 3 times, you could decide to trade the bounce. However, another way you could use that is, all right, on average 3 or 4 times, it might be due for a break. You can take a look at the chart and then decide for yourself if you are waiting for a bounce or a break, all right? You can use both of them together, totally up to you, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me. My name is Justin, Business Development Manager here at Fullerton Markets. I hope you guys enjoyed our class and I look forward to seeing you all in our other classes. Thank you all and goodbye.